Hello everyone. Exeggcute is a mediocre Pokemon in GSCNU. While Exeggcute does have some good traits, it's ultimately let down by its stats and exploitable typing. Exeggcute is one of the many mediocre grass types in GSCNU, though it is one of the better ones. In fact, it's the second best grass type behind Gloom. Exeggcute uses its grass psychic typing to check some prominent Pokemon. It is probably the best Dugtrio answer in the whole metagame. Exeggcute has a decently powerful stab psychic, which threatens some Pokemon that would wall other grass types. Exeggcute also learns the best offensive move in the game, Explosion, as well as moves like Thief. Its low stats really let it down though, and it sucks against some top Pokemon. Exeggcute is a niche pick in GSCNU, with it only fitting onto certain offensive teams. Let's analyse the Egg Pokemon. Exeggute's primary goal in GSCNU is to annoy some top Pokemon, fire off decently powerful psychics, maybe Thief or Paralyze something, and then use Explosion. Exeggute's grass psychic typing provides it with resistances to water, electric, ground, and fighting. Thanks to its ground resistance, serviceable physical bulk, and lack of a rock slide weakness, Exeggcute is the best answer to Dugtrio. Exeggcute takes little damage from Dugtrio's attacks, and threatens the molds with Psychic or Stun Spore. Sludge Bomb Dugtrio has almost entirely disappeared from play, so you don't need to worry about that. Exeggcute isn't a perfect answer to Dugtrio because of Screech plus Rock Slide, but it's still great against the moles. Side note, don't use Giga Drain versus Dugtrio if it's behind a substitute, because the move fails. Exeggcute also resists the combination of water plus electric, so it can switch into Hidden Power Electric Octillery and Chinchou. Exeggute's fighting resistance also lets it check Primeape and Hitmonlee. This is a unique and valuable set of Pokemon to check. Exeggcute is much better against Dugtrio when compared to Gloom, because it actually resists ground. Exeggcute isn't a perfect answer to any of the Pokemon I mentioned, but it's passable. Exeggute's move pool is also solid. Exeggcute stabs Psychic 2-KOs prominent Pokemon like Weezing, Gloom, and Primeape. The ability to 2-KO Weezing is a nice advantage over other grass types. Exeggute's Psychic is also able to 3-KO Pineco. Exeggcute can spread Paralysis with Stun Spore too. Paralysis is very nice to have. There's a number of Pokemon who drop Rest in this tier, so Paralysis is useful. Exeggcute also uses Stun Spore as its paralysis inducing move instead of Thunder Wave, so it can paralyze ground types. The most unique and useful move Exeggcute has over other grass types is Explosion. Explosion is the best offensive move in GSC, dealing massive damage to every Pokemon that doesn't resist it. While Exeggcute does have a low attack, Explosion's sheer strength means that it trucks everything. Rock types can't safely absorb it because Exeggcute can Giga Drain them. Explosion stops Exeggcute from being a blob. It gives it a powerful offensive tool and lets it go out with a bang. Exeggcute can use Giga Drain or Thief in its last move slot. Giga Drain 1-hit KOs Graveler, 2-hit KOs Pupitar, and 3-hit KOs Sudowoodo, Chinchou, and Hidden Power Electric Octillery. Be careful when using Giga Drain, because it only has 8 PP. Thief can steal leftovers from defensive Pokemon like Ninetales, Rapidash, Dewgong, and Octillery. Outside of Explosion, it's Exeggute's best way of doing something to defensive Pokemon. Exeggcute can explore Hidden Power Grass and Moonlight sets. Hidden Power Grass is stronger than Giga Drain, but it hurts Exeggute's already lacking bulk. Moonlight gives Exeggcute longevity, but it's illegal with Explosion, neutering most of Exeggute's offensive potential. Gloom is usually better as a defensive grass type. Exeggcute fits best onto offensive teams that need a specific skill set. Growth Pass teams, for example, dislike Dugtrio and Primeape, so Exeggcute is a fine option on them. Exeggute's Explosion also ends the turn, giving Flareon a turn to come in and set up. Explosion offense teams also appreciate it, because Exeggcute can explode and check some prominent Pokemon. If you're running some sort of strategy that really sucks against Dugtrio, Execute isn't a bad option. Ultimately, Execute really only fits onto teams that need, say, a Dugtrio check. Execute struggles to do much beyond that. Its stats really do let it down. Execute's bulk isn't great, it doesn't hit hard enough, and it's slow as hell. Execute's bulk means that it isn't a great check to some of the Pokemon that I mentioned. Octillery and Primeape outspeed and 4-hit KO Execute with Surf and Double Edge respectively. Chinchou can also annoy it with Thunder Paralysis. Execute's longevity is pretty crap. It can't fit recovery moves if it wants to use Explosion, its bulk is mediocre, it's slow, and it takes spike damage. Execute's typing also leaves it with weaknesses to several common types. Weezing 2-hit KOs it with Sludge Bomb, Dewgong 2-hit KOs it with Ice Beam, Fearow 2-hit KOs it with Drill Peck, and all the fire types obliterate Execute. Houndour in particular can destroy Execute with Pursuit as it flees. Execute is also weak outside of Explosion. Its Stab Psychic barely scratches Pokemon like Ninetales, Dewgong, Wigglytuff, and Rapidash. Execute even fails to 3-hit KO frailer offensive Pokemon like Persian, Dugtrio, Fearow, and Statler. Execute also really sucks versus Xatu if it has Hidden Power Ice. Even if it's Hidden Power Electric, Xatu hurts you with Psychic, and you can't hurt it back without exploding. Execute needs Explosion to truly hurt most Pokemon, but then when you explode, you lose your Execute. Now, Primeape and Dugtrio are worse for you to handle. Execute faces a lot of competition from Gloom. Gloom may lack Explosion and all, but it has better longevity. Its special defense is superior, and Moonlight is easier to fit on it. Gloom can also pose a bigger offensive threat with boosted Sludge Bomb. Execute's longevity is just not good, and overall, Execute is a deeply flawed Pokemon in GSC NU.